Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a depressing episode 6 of the Mobcast. I'm joined by the boys as always, Adam and Caleb. Uh, Probably no structure to this episode, just probably a bunch of ranting. Three sad dudes. Me and Adam were at a bar. Caleb, you had a bit of a rougher go down there in Stillwater.
Yeah, yeah. Not, not my it's not my best year for going on the road.
Yeah,
last year I go to Norman, I go to Ames, I go to the Big 12 championship. So I'm like, sweet. I'm kind of good at this road thing, and then we all went to Columbia together, and then me and my brother went down to Stillwater, and um, yeah, not a fun night.
yeah. We all three went to Columbia and witnessed the longest field goal. Not just walk off, longest fucking field goal in SEC history, and then you have to go watch us lay an elephant-sized shit in Stillwater. So
Pretty
definitely,
much.
definitely a rough go.
Is that what they mean when they say gargantuan?
Yeah,
Surely.
fuck, man. That was. I mean, like when we were at the bar, everyone was just kind of in disbelief. Especially, I think when they went up 14-0, everyone was like, "What the fuck's going on here, guys?"
Yeah, we were at a catbacker. Like, it was technically a catbackers thing, but I have friends who like to go there to watch K-State and Chiefs games. So obviously K-State crowd. We probably cheered even slightly at all, like twice the whole game. So that was cool.
Literally, the first half was just that run. That was the only positive thing from the first half, dude.
Yeah, full disclosure, I left at halftime because I was ready to go home and watch it from the basement couch instead.
I went and bought a pack of cigarettes, and the last time I smoked was probably a year ago at a casino. So this was a very rough night for me.
My brother and I left probably 10 minutes. Well, I don't remember how much time was left on the clock. We left when we decided it was a good idea to go for it on 4th and 3 from our own 25-yard line.
Oh my god! In the snap,
Um,
was that the snap?
no. This is after. This is
Oh.
after that. So which that's something we can get into later. But so we left, and then my brother, being the K-State masochist that he is, decides to pull it up on his phone while we're walking to the bars, and we made a little run of it, and then went to Eskimo Joe's, watched the rest of the game there, and I just, before the game, like, every Oklahoma State fan's coming up to you, and they give you the cliche of like how great K-State fans are, yada yada, and then they follow that with, "Man, K-State's gonna kill us today." It's like, dude, I hope so, but they all just kind of expected us to go in there and beat them pretty good. And for what it's worth, I think that's what Chris Kleiman's football team thought too. I think they played like, we're just going to come in here and Oklahoma's just going to lay down and take it from us. So,
yeah, I think DY put this out, so I'm not really doing any paywall stuff here, but he went out and said that 3 players specifically said that they kind of listened to the music too much this offseason, and they think the team did too, which is concerning. Take nothing away from Chris Kleiman. I don't think that's too much of his fault. Definitely rough to hear that, because I think that this team's potential is exactly what the team was last year. I think that, I think overall it's not as good as a team because of all the talent you lost to, Felix, right? And then Brent's. That's round 1 and 2. K-State really doesn't have a first round pick often, nor do they get consistent second round picks. So when that happens, there was a lot of talent on that team. And then you lose Echo. So a lot of talent that secondary, and you can tell, especially on our pass defense, that we're missing them. Every single play compared to last year, it just seems like when they pass it, someone's going to catch it. It doesn't feel like We have guys there. The pass rush, man, doesn't really feel like that's there either.
Non-existent. Non-existent.
Non-existent. There was no pressure on him all game. Who did they play? Dude, he had like less than 100 fucking yards passing against South Alabama. How does South Alabama get more pressure than Mott and Duke? This was
Well,
supposed to be Duke's breakout year, right?
in fairness too, it's kind of a domino effect of things like Oklahoma State was getting the ball out quick. Like we couldn't get anything on them because they were running a lot of quick game, and they're running a lot of quick game because our corners and safeties are lined up 12 yards off the ball,
Oh
and
my
our
god.
and our corners and safeties are lined up 12 yards off the ball because they'll be burnt toast if you don't do that. Like it's a snowball effect.
I felt bad because this was the first time I went to this bar, and these were a lot of Adam's friends. But in the first quarter, I was like losing my shit because they would zoom out on the play, and our fucking corners would be at the goddamn the first down line. I'm like,
Yeah,
are we just praying they stick to a field goal? Like, are we just don't bend from the fucking our own 30-yard line? What is this? No
Yeah, off the get
pressure.
go.
And then multiple times they would simply run screens. Like they would notice, hey, the guy guarding you on a fucking man on man, a man coverage play is 10 yards away from you. Why don't we just throw you a screen and you pick up 6? And they did
yeah.
that.
Yeah, and I mean, in fairness to Joe Klannerman and the defense, first of all, I thought that was like the best game they played against a team with a pulse. And secondly, um, they did. I mean, what was it? Oklahoma State kicked 4 field goals, 5 field goals, but I mean,
Something absurd.
taking away the pick six, like so the defense gave away 22 points. And if you tell me going into the game our defense is going to give up 22 points, I'm like, sweet, we won by
Really? Against the team that
15,
gave up
20.
3 to South Alabama. They scored was it 3 or 7 against South Alabama?
7. But
They scored
still,
7 points and you're okay with 20 something?
no, not at all. But I'm saying, like, if you tell me going into the game, like, Oklahoma State's offense scored 22 points, I'm thinking, okay, sweet,
Oh,
we
Okay, we scored
won.
like 40
yeah,
something.
because
Right,
you
Yeah.
right,
expected our
right.
offense. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I don't really, I don't really put any blame actually on the defense for this game,
Well,
honestly.
I did also factor in the pick six. So the defense really. Oh yeah, well they did score 20. All right, never mind. Forgive us
But
everything.
but going back, just want to circle back to something that Eric said earlier that when I was watching like the player like interviews after the game, and then they also said it in the media availability Tuesday afternoon. I don't know when this will come out, but they said it after the game too that we like I feel like we bought into like the outside noise and the hype a little bit too much. Like that fucking irks me. I'm not gonna lie, that pisses me off because it wasn't outside noise. Like Chris Kleiman and the coordinators and these players have been talking about since the Sugar Bowl got over that there's no reason that this can't be the first team to repeat for the Big 12 and our goal is the playoff and this, that, and the other. Like, you guys are the ones that have been blowing smoke up your own ass, not outside noise. So
It's
that fucking irked me.
it's kind of a double-edged sword because, well, first of all, I would hope that the team wouldn't be thinking about things like distractions like that, but
Sure.
I almost kind of feel like, and maybe this is a pessimistic view, and I know this is not a fun episode to make, but I feel kind of shame on us for having such high expectations. I mean, everything would have
Yeah.
suggested that we could have done well this season as well, but perhaps I just kind of assumed that a lot of, or at least a decent amount of wins was a foregone conclusion, and I hope I never have to say this again this season, but I hope this is kind of a come to God moment for the team. But I don't
Two
know.
things really quick. First of all, I don't think we were wrong in assuming the team would have a good year. I think if you looked at what we saw in the Big 12 championship game and what we saw out of DJ Giddens, we could have predicted DJ would take a big step. But the fact that Will Howard is seemingly to regress from, well, not regress. This game
No,
was
that's
irrelevant.
fair. That's fair to say.
I mean, but not really a dig on him because he had like an insane performance when he took over as a starter last year. I mean,
Yeah, he's came back to earth a little bit. But I mean, my whole thing with it is I would say that he has regressed since last year, but up until the Oklahoma State game, I would say he was playing well. Like last year, I think he played great, phenomenal, and then up until the Oklahoma State game, I would say he's playing well. The Oklahoma State game was the first game that I thought he legitimately played bad.
Yeah, and this is going to lead me into a humongous discussion. But I'm sure, kind of from how we started the episode, this was probably going to be a bulk of it. I want to tell anyone right now who thinks that Avery Johnson should take over this team, you are a fucking idiot. You are very fucking stupid.
Yes.
Do you understand how stupid it is to have a super senior quarterback and fucking bench him after one bad game and put in a true freshman? I don't give a shit if it's CJ Stroud off the bench when he's a freshman. It is so stupid to disenfranchise your quarterback like that after one poor game. If he strings together 4 or 5 of these, so be it. Then you can discuss what the fuck's going on with Will Howard. But after one game, to turn on him like that is not only disgusting, you aren't looking at his performance last year. I mean, dude, quarterbacks are going to have a bad game every now and then. That's why when they talk about, defense wins championships, sometimes the defense got to bail out their quarterback. Sometimes the running back has to. Will Howard is a good player, but he is not going to have amazing games consistently. But to want to bench him,
It's
what are
just
we
it's
what are
so
we doing?
spoiled. It's so spoiled. Like this isn't a program like Oklahoma where you got Caleb Williams coming off the bench if Spencer Rattler's playing bad. And I'm not saying that Avery Johnson's not going to be a great player because he is going to be a great player, but like we've won 3 Big 12 championships and I don't care what anyone says, the sole reason that we won the last one 10 months ago is because Will Howard took over. You can say
Absolutely.
well, Felix, well, Deuce, well, Jew, well, Daniel Green, well, Ty Zentner. Yeah, all of that doesn't matter if Will Howard doesn't take over because that no, I mean, and I don't like going there. I'm like stuttering because I'm just like so like infuriated right now. I don't like going there, but if Will Howard doesn't start the back half of the year and we play the entire year with Adrian Martinez, I don't even know if we get to Arlington, and I know we don't beat TCU. So
oh, absolutely.
so
Yep.
and going into I don't know like where he's at now, but like coming out of the UCF game, Will Howard led the Big 12 in total touchdowns. Yes, he made some questionable throws. Yes, he had some questionable picks. But we were going into the Oklahoma State game. K-State was 14th in total offense and 14th in scoring offense in America. Like that, like we are not. We gotta get it through our heads that K-State is not Ohio State. It's not Alabama. It's not Oklahoma. Like
Like
you
people really
can't expect more than what Will has given us the last two
let
years.
me read you a stat line from him on the road in an SEC environment against a Missouri team that exponentially improved from the past season. 25 for 39, 270 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. I mean, to even make the fucking argument that he hasn't had a good year up until the Oklahoma State game is ridiculous.
I
He
said that today, and someone told me he played bad at Mizzou, Eric. I'm like,
that's my
did we
point.
not
That's my
watch the
point.
same game?
Casual people get annoyed when K State isn't play good, and I understand that. But when you don't take to Twitter and say that shit. You don't because the players fucking see it. Chris Kleiman addressed in his press conference that people want Avery to start. Like, dude, I bet Avery is fucking confused right now. I
Yeah,
would be. I'm a true freshman. You want me thrown into the fire because the quarterback from last season who won you guys a Big 12 title, you want him benched because of one bad game? Like,
it's
dude, I
ridiculous,
was
dude.
the number one Will Howard hater 2 years ago.
Yeah,
He
same.
proved me wrong, and me and Caleb, everyone looks stupid. But I mean, what has he done to even one bad game, dude? It is ridiculous.
We're talking about a
Yes, he
kid
throws one
that
bad pick
last
a
year
game.
beat number
Yes,
9
he has
Oklahoma State.
problems.
Last year he beats number 9 Oklahoma State 48-0. He goes to a pretty good Baylor team at the time, beats them 31-3.
The line for the Baylor game was K-State -3.
Yeah. He goes to West Virginia, balls out. Have to beat KU at home in order to go to the Big 12 championship. He destroys them.
It was
Go
a
to the
night. It
Big
was a
12.
night rain game.
Yeah, go to the Big 12 championship. Play a team that ended up losing the national championship. And Will was the better
Undefeated.
quarterback on the field that day up until the fourth quarter when Max Duggan went nuclear. Like, I just don't understand the thought process behind this kid's been nails for us for like 10 games in a row. He plays one bad game in Stillwater and it's time to move on. I don't get that thought process. I really don't.
I think the West Virginia game is where last year, especially, me and Ozzy went to a bar to watch that, and that was the game where I'm like, wow, Will Howard has now strung together 3 impressive performances, um, 2 of which being on the road, and I was like, dude, this kid is massively improved, and I think Will Howard is a, a fantastic quarterback, but he's a kicker playing quarterback. He consistently gets in his own head, like
Yeah.
there is no other way to put there is no other way to explain his one bad interception a game. Like these are just, except for the first game, these throws are often ridiculous, but then he balls out for 3 quarters, and there's only one game that he hasn't, and that's Oklahoma State. So if you are asking me, going into the game too, by the way, 13 total touchdowns and 4 interceptions. 13 total touchdowns and 4 interceptions. So fucking stupid. We'd call for
I,
this kid's head, dude.
and like I don't think that I don't think that people factor in that to borrow from my good friend Ace Edwards, like Keegan Johnson's just a figment of my imagination. He doesn't exist,
Yep.
and the rest of the wide receiver room, I don't like. They're just kids, and I don't want to bury anyone, but they can't get open. That's just the long and short of it. They don't get open. The guy that we were relying on to be the deep threat, just is apparently never going to be healthy ever again. Maybe next year. Like the offensive line, everyone told them how fantastic they are, and outside Cooper Beebe, I haven't seen them protect Will that great once this year. So
Cooper
and
Beebe is having the season of a generation playing offensive line, and it sucks that it's happening right now.
yeah, it is because it's getting overshadowed by how disappointing the rest of the year's been.
He's
But
so good, dude.
and then on top of that, on top of the fact that he doesn't have time to do anything, and the receivers can't get open, I've been really disappointed with a lot of the play calling from Colin Klein this year, and I don't know if it's a matter of he isn't working with like the best like receivers. If I don't know, but
Well,
some
did
of the
you see?
situational stuff he does makes no sense to me.
Did you see Kleiman said today, or in the press conference, that they're looking at younger receivers now?
Yeah,
Porter, Jace Brown, true freshman.
yeah,
They're
Spivey,
dude. I mean,
which
Whatever it takes.
if
yeah,
if
good,
you
good.
are if you are Brooks right now, I mean that you're a super senior, man. Like, I hate to put a lot of pressure specifically on a guy, but he's not. Not only is he not a clear cut wide receiver one when he should be, being the oldest by what, 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah, at least
Um,
two, I think.
well, I guess Porter's kind of older, but
He doesn't count.
yeah. My point being is that I'm not in the locker room, but it seems like the receiving core has a bunch of the potential to be great, but it's not. And when he came out and he said they're like not fundamentally sound, like that's not K State. That's where K State wins, is being more fundamentally sound than the 5 stars. So
I watched Will Howard
concerning.
on a pull read on a read option on 3rd and 1 have a walk in touchdown where Phil Brooks just decided he's not going to block the
I
safety.
saw
That
that
was
too.
so
And
frustrating.
I'm just like this kid is a 6th year senior. What the, and I love Phil. I absolutely love Phil. But that kind of shit cannot fly. Like we're not K-State has a lot of good talent, but we're not one of those programs that can just walk into Stillwater and just out-talent them to a win. We can't just expect a win. We got to play harder than that.
This is the most talented K-State team in decades. Like, the talent that he's recruited to this roster, we don't get that. We usually take the JUCO kids and the kids with chips on their shoulder, but we're actually recruiting 4-stars now. And the drop in production this year is concerning.
Well, and then, so, and then this is kind of getting off topic, but then Monday, Wilt Fong crystal balls Boganowski to OU after OU beats Texas and we shit down our leg in Stillwater. Winning matters. You can't go lose to inferior programs and expect to keep signing the 2023 class that we did every single year. It's just
That was a real kick in the balls, man.
It's all going bad, honestly. And
if we can somehow keep Bricks, though, I think we can salvage this class, but it's turning out to be a pretty disappointing class.
I don't think we'll get him either, honestly, dude. But
yeah, I mean, it's hard to see it. When success breeds success, and as much as we've shit on K-State today, I still think that there's an opportunity for us to end up being 5-1 in Big 12 play if you look at our upcoming schedule before Texas. So,
yeah, I mean the season basically comes down to Saturday, right? I mean,
really, no, that's seriously. Yep. This is like the make or break game of the season. Like, you either are 3-3 or you're 4-2.
Yeah, and just to kind of get back onto the Oklahoma State game real quick, because this is something that all three of us have talked about, just texting each other. But I feel like this needs to be said that we all think that Will is quarterback one and should be the starting quarterback and should be getting the lion's share of the reps. But there is literally no good reason for Avery Johnson to not be playing 10 snaps a game like he did at Mizzou. There's no good reason. You don't have any explosive playmaking on the edge. The guy that you were relying on, Keegan Johnson, once again, figment of my imagination, maybe next year. You're struggling to get anything going offensively. Why would you not put the most dynamic athlete on the entire roster on the field and see what happens? That to me, I think that everyone is so Will's the guy or Avery's the guy, but I feel like it's really an in-between thing where Will's the guy, but Avery needs to play.
This is and just so anyone listening isn't confused, there is a massive difference between suggesting that Avery should replace Will at this point in the season and hoping to see a combination of the two on the field any given game.
Thank you.
Yes.
Which
yes.
Apparently massive. People can't differentiate the difference between the two. Because I've seen so many people conflate the 2 points to either one side or the other. And of course, that's going to happen depending on whatever narrative they think is bad and whatever narrative they think is good. So whatever, I'm not worried about it. I absolutely fucking hope that the coaches in the locker room have a better grasp of that concept than, I'm sorry, the average fan on Twitter.
They do. They're paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, and people are screaming as to why our true freshman isn't coming in for our super senior quarterback. It is so unbelievably stupid.
Yep. And I don't see how, for example, in the Mizzou game, which really was, again, a pretty good performance from Will. He had 270 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. And we still were kind of stagnant at times, it felt. So put in Avery for the 6 yards we need, and boom, Bob's your uncle. And that was with Will lining up outside. So they instantly knew they didn't have to worry about one of the wideouts positions.
Yeah, that was just ridiculously
you're
dumb,
right.
but...
And that brings up my questioning of there's this kind of a two-sided point for me. The first thing, when Avery stopped coming into games, I'm like, okay, they've decided to redshirt him. I don't agree with it, but the staff won a Big 12 title last year, so who am I to question them? And then after the OSU game, Kleinman comes out and he goes, we were thinking about putting Avery in. I'm like, well, what the fuck are we doing?
Then do it. Yeah, because
Yeah,
he said Tuesday, Eric, he was like, someone asked him, he's like, it's not about the red shirt. I just trust Colin Klein to make that decision. It's like, that is,
okay, well, he
I
didn't
love,
make that fucking decision in
yeah,
the
yeah.
fourth quarter of the Missouri game when Will was on one leg.
I love
So
Chris Kleiman, but that's such a cop out. That's such a bullshit sidestep of the question. Like, oh, it's not about the red shirt. I just trust Colin to make that
yeah, you're
call.
the
Like
head
that's that.
coach.
Like yeah, exactly. Like you, like of all people, have to be able to see. You're not Colin's up there calling the plays. Like he's focused on calling the plays, and I know it ultimately like comes down to him. But you as the head coach got to be like, we have no explosiveness, no dynamism. Let's put in the kid. I don't know. Maybe let's put in the kid that averaged 6 yards a carry in Columbia. I don't know.
Because at the very basis of the people asking for Avery to start, the argument is there because Avery has been successful when he comes in. I'm not
Yeah,
saying the argument is deeply flawed, in my opinion, but there is absolutely no reason that after you have Will Howard, who is 240 and a fucking Big Ben back there, and he's rumbling and tumbling down the field and he's dotting you up to put in Avery in, and he's like a Deuce Vaughn, basically, at quarterback. And he's explosive and he's fast as shit and he can throw. So there is absolutely no reason to not put him in for a few plays a game. Because I'm not saying put him in for the decision making plays for the 3rd and 3s in the fourth quarter. I'm saying in the second quarter, change up the pace. You have a 3rd and 6, run a QB power or some shit. Like let him do something. I just he had so much success doing that against Missouri, who we now know is good, right? Had a good game against LSU.
Yeah.
No reason why we shouldn't see him a few times a game if we're not going for his red shirt. Just absolutely confusing
Yeah, I don't, I
stance.
I did a lot of deep thinking after we did the trick play call against SEMO, because there were kind of differing opinions on it, and I ultimately settled on I kind of like that they did it because one, try that out against a I guess we'll say lesser
Inferior
opponent.
team.
Yeah, absolutely. And in addition, the best argument I heard for it was put everything you can on film. I mean, yeah, it would be great to surprise someone with that later on, but make up prepare for it. And so, I mean, yes, we've had success when we have Avery in on those plays where we need those 6 yards, but the other problem is it's such a small sample size, so we have a lot of people basing their calls for Will's head on super small sample size, and but with that being said, I would love to get more of him on film just for the sake of having teams have to prepare for two quarterbacks that are, um, both a viable threat in different ways.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, if you're Texas Tech's defensive coordinator, like you're going in this game, you're not worried about Avery Johnson. Avery Johnson's not going to play. You know,
Yep.
like it's not something you
We
have to
must be
prepare for.
missing something, man.
Yeah, we have to be. We
These
have to
teams,
be.
these coaches are intelligent. Before the season, Colin Klein was being ranked in the top coordinators in the nation. He was getting a fucking look at by Notre Dame. Colin Klein was on the list for Michigan State. Like, these are good head coaches and good coordinators, especially Clanderman, dude. He had a fucking stellar year last year. Like, we have to be missing something as to why they're not putting Avery in. Like, the logic that if you lay it out, does not make sense. Maybe it is like a game flow thing by taking Will out, and maybe he complained about it. I'm absolutely speculating. I am at a loss as to why you wouldn't play him a few games. Like, what a talent that you're not going to redshirt but not use.
My
The,
You
whole
the best
know,
thing,
quarterback talent since Freeman.
yeah. I mean, my whole thing with it is like you just said. There's got to be something that we're not seeing because every single time we got in 2nd and long in Columbia, we bring him in. He gets us, to 3rd and short or a first down. Like that's so valuable. Like 2nd and long is like a really hard down for offenses, and
I mean, that's a
so
Colin Klein special right now.
it was so effective. I don't understand why we got away from it.
We need to talk about
I,
his play calling in Stillwater because we
you
kind
know,
of skipped over that.
yeah, real quick though, I do want to like, I don't, I don't want to make assumptions. So again, I will also give a disclaimer on this that it's speculation from me. But we've seen through anecdotal evidence that Will seems to be a pretty heavily mental game dependent
Mm-hmm.
player. I think when he
Yeah.
gets in his head, it really messes with his ability.
Yeah.
Because after the pick six, I mean, it was downhill from there. And I still don't think like he's bad. I don't think he's even close to bad, frankly. But I don't know. I mean, it very well could be the um, and I've said this before, and people sort of disagree, and I wasn't super sure on it either. But every game that passes it, we don't also see Avery play. It makes me think more and more I may be right that they're worried about messing up Will's mental fortitude or whatever, having Avery, be successful. And the more we see of Avery, if he continues to succeed, the more people are going to call for him over Will. And I can't imagine what that's like to deal with.
Do you remember? Was it? I think it was Skylar's last year. Kleiman came out and said we have the best backup in the country, and he was bad that year, so we're like, you're full of shit. And then going into the next year, he's like, you guys are actually going to see Will Howard is good, and for the third year in a row, we're like, you're full of shit. And then he did it, and I think that there was I think all of this was always there. I think Will was always good. He just couldn't get out of his own way. So I don't think you're anywhere near in the wrong for that sort of speculation. Now, if it isn't the case, so I'm
What
agreeing
the
with
hell
you.
else could it be, man? I
Yeah,
don't know. Let's hear it.
like dude, he's such a good. He is every intangible you could want. He's a big dude. He stands over the offensive line. He steps up in the pocket, and he's got a cannon for an arm. But he just makes these throws, man. I'm
I
like,
would
what
just
are you
say I would just
doing?
say that if that is the case, that they're like worried about like messing with like Will's like mojo or whatever, because I'll flat out say it. I love Will Howard, but he's a head case. Like he is. He always has been. Like it goes from bad to worst really fast with him. And if that's why, I mean, frankly, that's ridiculous. Like Landry Jones was an all Big 12 quarterback. He won the Sammy Baugh Trophy, and you didn't see him crying when Blake Bell came in and ran for touchdowns. So like I just if that's why, and again, pure speculation, but like we're not I don't really care if it hurts Will's feelings. We're trying to win football games. Like he's got to get that out of his head that really honestly what it all stems from honestly is this receiver room is terrible and we have no explosiveness and we got to find it somewhere and Avery Johnson
God,
has it.
dude, it is
Yep.
such a kick in the balls that this receiving room is not taken off. Like I really thought this was going to be and we all did that Keegan was going to go for 1,000 and Phillip Brooks is going to take a step up. Like I mean, it is fucking Jaden Jackson is probably our most accomplished receiver up until this point, besides our Travis Kelsey-esque tight end.
We have a lot of wide receiver twos, but the wide receiver one just is never going to be healthy. That's honestly what the issue is when a defense has to prepare for Keegan, then that frees up everyone else. And since no defense has had to prepare for Keegan, it makes everyone else look average because there's no vertical threat in this offense right now. There's no explosiveness.
I want to bring this up because someone DM me and I'll keep them private. But they DM me before the game because I made a comment that Keegan Johnson was going to score against Oklahoma State, and word for word, he said that his Keegan's uncle is good friends with his dad, and he said that it's a groin injury and he's close to healthy, and there are multiple like very trusted reports that he is just unguardable in practice. Now, I
Well,
want to preface that
the
with
the Troy wide receivers were unguardable when they played
that's
K
what.
State.
Yeah, I was gonna
You
preface that
know,
our cornerback room is weak. So, but I still have hope for him. But to be honest, it's for next year.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm frustrated with the situation, not with Keegan Johnson, because I want to make that clear that I'm not like dumping on the kid for being injured. It's just like I said, I just punted on getting any contribution from him this year. Like if it happens, great, but we're halfway through the season and he's done nothing. And he was supposed to be like this fantastic player, and I'm sure that he can be, but he just can't get healthy.
Do you want to hear
Man.
Will's stats from last season extrapolated over 12 regular
Yes,
season
I
games?
do. Yes, I do.
So, he only started in 4 regular season games. This obviously doesn't include non-conference games to start the season off. But keep in mind,
Which
he
are
did
stat
beat number
padding
9
games, by the
Oklahoma
way.
State, beat KU, who wasn't horrible but wasn't great last year. Anyway, you take his average from those 4 games. Passing yards, 250. Touchdowns, 2.75. Interceptions, 1/4. He had 1 interception over those 4 games. So you take that, extrapolate it out to 12
He
games,
didn't throw
3,000
picks last
yards,
year. I forgot
33
about that.
3,000 yards, 33 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
I don't know. That's pretty damn good. That doesn't sound like someone I'd want to punt on after one bad game, personally.
And
I
even
complete.
now,
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Adam.
no, you're good. Even now, through 5 starts, this does include non-conference. He's averaging 245 passing yards a game. Yeah. Now, he's only averaging 1.8 touchdowns per game, but if DJ Giddens and him decide they want to rush for like 7 touchdowns in a game, that works too. But he's also thrown 1.4 interceptions per game. So we take these out across 12 games. 2,900 yards, 22 touchdowns, 17 interceptions.
That also doesn't factor in that Wills ran for 6 touchdowns this year in 5 games as well.
And
So
also, 3 of those picks came in one game, and I don't see
Yep.
him having another 3-pick game again.
Nope. So while the numbers, again, I can give all sorts of disclaimers about sample size and stuff like that, but passing yards wise, at the very least, he is on pace. By the way, with all of the things we've said about the receiver room in mind, he is basically on pace for similar yardage.
I think he's doing everything that he can. Up until the Oklahoma State game, he played bad in Stillwater. There's no way around that. But up until that, there's a couple throws where you're like, "What are you doing, Will?" But he's played 4 of the 5 games that we played this year very well.
But also, you have to factor in that during that game, if your wide receiver room is playing like shit, like you kind of got to force
Yeah,
plays, right?
yeah.
So, forced throws are to be expected when no one can get open. And I think our offensive line, was not great that game. But I really think most of the blame is on the receiving core.
I would agree that, and Colin Klein. I would agree.
Oh,
And
talk about the play, Caleb. The 2nd and 6.
yeah, so I noticed. So it's 1st and 10. We handed it off to DJ on I don't know if it was like a power or what it was. It was out of pistol, and DJ runs it up the middle, 4 yards, 2nd and 6, and we come out in an empty set and jet motion DJ and try to run DJ Giddens on a jet sweep on 2nd and 6 after he just ran up the middle for 4 yards. Like, if we're gonna run it again, why are we running? He's not Malik Knowles. What are we doing? Anyway, it was right to left. He gets tackled in the backfield. It's like 3rd and 9. Will throws an incompletion. We punt. The very next drive, 1st and 10, little like hitch route to I can't remember if it was Phil or J Jack, but 2nd and 6 again. Exact same jet sweep play to DJ Giddens. Goes nowhere. I'm like, what? Why are you running that? Run it with
I can
Jaden.
name
Run it
3
with
players
Phil.
who would do that better.
Run it with Trayshawn Ward before you run it with DJ Giddens. And I think that
RJ
honestly,
Garcia.
yeah. Well, I love RJ to death, but what has he really done since SEMO?
Yeah.
But like I think that Colin's just like searching for like any like just throwing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks because no one can get open. He's got to try to do something, but I haven't been very happy with some of his situational play calling and this is I don't even know if we want to get into this. This is a whole other thing really, but like we're 55 games into the Chris Kleiman era. He is what he is. And he is not very good at clock management and he's not very good with some situational things. He's a great player developer. His players play hard for him. He's a great guy, but going for it on your own 25, 4th and 3 was so stupid. I really didn't love going for it on the 4th and 8 either instead of just kicking the field goal. I didn't love that.
But are we gonna make the field goal?
Yeah, I guess that's a fair point, Eric. I mean, but I mean, at one point in that game, like on that last drive, if you just kick the field goal, you wouldn't even have had to. And I did like going for two because like analytically that makes sense that you go for two there, and that was a great play call by everyone's like, why are we running a double reverse on the 2-point conversion? Well, it worked. So, like I forget who it
You
was.
dropped the ball.
Someone dropped the ball. Like, but you're not even in that situation if you just take the points earlier. Because on that last drive, it would have been like what 29-24 or whatever, and a touchdown wins the game. Instead of you got to go for two to even go to overtime. Like I'm just not a big fan of like because everyone will say and the argument is always well the analytics say this. Well a computer can't spit out that K-State's offense is playing like dog shit right now and we need to take the fucking points. A computer can't tell me that. Like there's nothing in analytics that accounts for the human element of the game of football. There's my rant on that.
I understand analytically your argument. I think that with the trouble that we had on offense prior to that point, I didn't like the 2-point conversion because I just wanted to see the number 7 and us being down. I feel like
Yeah.
that was when we didn't get that was a big momentum. Like I feel like the risk to reward in the momentum category was humongous when they got that stop, even if it was we ran everything perfectly except for the receiver.
Yeah, I mean, I would have kicked the extra point there, but I didn't hate going for two there. I did hate going for 4th and 3 on our own 25, and I did hate not taking the 3 points on that 4th and 8 though.
Yeah, that game. It's interesting too because last year when we beat him, Chris Kleiman went out and he's like that was the best game I've ever coached, and it seems like that was one of the worst this year. And it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and I'm not, I can sit here and be frustrated, but at the end of the day, I'm just some
This
guy
is
that likes football. Like Chris Kleiman knows more about football than I ever will. He's forgotten more about football than I ever will. But
yeah,
there are people like Curry Sexton on the 3 mob bonus and people that have played this game, have coached this game that echo that sentiment that sometimes what he does situationally doesn't make a lot of sense.
yeah. I mean, every coach has their shtick, right? There's Riverboat Ron, right? So if it's your coaching style and it's worked for you, so be it. I mean, the dude won what 6 national titles at the D2 level.
Well, I honestly think that's why he's bad at like clock management and situational stuff. Is like when you're killing everyone in the Fargo Dome by 50 in the third quarter, you don't have to think about, well, my offense isn't playing very good right now. If I take this 3 points and then score another touchdown on top of that, then I'm within 5 after that. Like I don't think
That's
that.
an argument you could have used in 2019. It's been too long for that to be true, man. Like
But that's what I'm
the end
saying
of
is
the
like
half against UCF with the timeout situation was the most unbelievable clock management I've ever seen in my life.
yeah,
Hit
but
3
no, but
timeouts.
that's what I'm saying, Eric. Is at this point he just is what he is. Like we're 55 games
yeah.
in. It hasn't gotten better yet. It's never going to get better. That's just who he is.
I mean, you can take that, right? You can take the good with the bad.
Yeah,
And he's so
absolutely.
much more good. Yeah, I'll agree
Absolutely.
with you.
I want Chris Kleiman here until the end of that 2030 contract, and I pray to God that's what happens. I love Chris Kleiman, but that stuff really frustrates me about him.
Seriously, I mean, with Avery and how and if he can continue to recruit, it is not crazy, especially with OU and Texas leaving, to see at least two more championships, if not three, in the Big 12 going forward. If he keeps his momentum, but it is concerning this year at least.
Yeah, and I
But
mean
a lot
that's
of games to
the
be played.
I think that's the and we sit here and talk about how the season's basically over is what we're sounding like, but like you beat Tech, you get on track, but that's like if we don't beat Tech, and for the record, I don't think we're going to win Saturday, but
I think we are.
that's the thing that's so frustrating about this year is we all understand that at a program like K State, you're not. And I put out a tweet like this about this, like after we lost, that like I understand that this isn't a program that's Oklahoma where you just go win the Big 12 every year, and if you don't, then it's burn it all down. But this team felt like it was legitimately good enough to contend, and that's what's frustrating. It didn't frustrate me in 2021 or 2019 when we went 8-5. This team should have been a hell of a lot better than that trajectory that we're on right now, which is like 7 or 8 wins.
Well, the catch-22 about you bringing up recruiting momentum is how do we do that when we're potentially 3-3 after this weekend?
You don't.
Yeah, dude. No,
You don't.
like you make an
Boganowski's about to
excellent
go to
point.
OU. I mean,
This next game. If you truly look at the season from this point on and what we can achieve if we win, what we can if we lose, we have everything to lose by losing. We have
Yep.
our berth in the Big 12 championship completely gone. I know it's kind of slim right now, but it's gone if we lose. Fucking, we could win out and still probably. I don't think we're going to beat Tech or Texas and Austin. So we're not now. We're like relying on them to shit, and they always do. Uh, the momentum of the season if we lose to Tech on Saturday.
it's done. Like if you lose to Tech, you might as well just start playing the young guys because the season's over. Like, and I know that K State's not going to do that. I know they're going to play all these 6-year guys that should have just went out a champion instead of coming back satisfied. But the season's over, and right now you control your own destiny. You beat Tech. Us and Texas both have one loss in the conference, and we play Texas, so you still control your own destiny if you win on Saturday. But if you don't win on Saturday, there's no Arlington. There's no even like good bowl game really.
Oh, if we lose on Saturday, you might as well order this year's Rolando Blackman throwback jersey at this point.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I mean,
yeah.
this is pretty deep in the podcast where no Kansas fan is going to make it this far. I'm fucking We're like 3 weeks away from Tang Ball.
I'm very excited for this year, and I actually I put out like a tweet like joking about like how I'm like I haven't punted on this football season yet, but I put out a tweet like joking about like how like I'm just ready. Like I tweeted a screenshot at the start of the basketball schedule, and someone was like, "Oh, so like you think that it was a KU fan? They're like, oh, so you think like the basketball team is going to be better than the football team?" It's like my expectations for the basketball team weren't sky high. Like I think that they're going to be a really, really fun team that's going to be a team no one wants to play in the Big 12 and makes March Madness. That's my expectation. It's not win the Big 12 like it was with the football team, but
We're not
Absolutely.
punting on the season, but it's 3rd and 9, and Colin Klein's on the headset. So
basically, dude, basically. I will say
Dude,
this. If we lose on Saturday, I am punting on this season.
if we lose on Saturday, you are aiming to make a fucking bowl game
Yeah.
because, like, this is I hate to always reference DY, but he said today, he's like, dude, you lose to Tech in that game versus TCU at home does not look as gettable as it does with a win. Like, that is, like, TCU looks bad right now, but if you lose to Tech, I mean, there's a lot of shit goes into momentum, man.
You lose to,
And
I mean, you lose to Tech. You probably come home and lose to TCU on some seasons over unmotivated shit, right?
and then you probably beat
Yeah,
Houston,
because
and
they
then
suck. You go to Austin and you lose by 50. You probably beat
I don't think
Baylor.
a Chris Kleiman team will lose by more than 3 touchdowns again, but it will not be a good game for us.
Okay, so that's 4-5. You prob
KU will lose.
you probably beat Baylor at home to go to 5-5. You go to Lawrence, lose, and I think we're gonna lose that game. And then like 5-6 coming off like losing the KU streak and Iowa State coming to town.
Rocco has probably had more of a season, and he's more complete. He's going to be a good QB, by the way.
Yeah, he is. We lose that game. Like that's 5-7. So I mean, and that's like my whole that whole thing there is based on the team that I saw play Oklahoma State. But if this is what it takes to light a fire under their ass and start playing like they're capable, and we go beat Texas Tech and Lubbock night game blackout, then I'm all the way back in. But I don't
This
think
is
it's
the
gonna
shit
happen.
you get when you're the defending Big 12
Yep,
champions. You get back-to-back road blackout games. You are the center of attention, and that's what we've wanted for so long. So to bitch about it now is redundant.
yep,
Like we are the team in the Big 12 coming into the season to beat, and we've been beaten fucking twice. One of them, again, I'll say this a lot. Missouri is good. They are a good
Yep.
football team. That is an okay loss. It's not great. It is okay. Oklahoma State is egregious.
yeah,
So
yeah, and another thing I'd say too is like another thing that really frustrates me in the Chris Kleiman era is like once a year we just have to show our ass and lose to a team that we're 100 times better than. So hopefully we got that out of the way and now we can decide that we're gonna play well. But
yeah, I mean, last year you lose to Tulane, beat Oklahoma. It's
right,
just it's an interesting pattern that we who was it? It was someone on the 2003 team talked about it. They're like, we needed to lose to Marshall. Well, okay, that's fine. You went in and beat probably one of the best Oklahoma teams to ever exist. TCU that year, this last year would have gotten smashed by that Oklahoma team.
yeah,
So, that's not comparable. You don't need to lose a game every year to figure it out.
yep,
I don't know, man. I don't even think it was that we showed our ass. We left Stillwater with 8 indecent exposure charges and court date. Like
We got
honestly,
we got out coached, and Mike Gundy's a good coach, so that can happen. But dude, there is something fucking for us in Stillwater. One win in 23 years there is insane.
yeah, and Chris
yeah.
and also not only I know Oklahoma State was coming off a bye week as well, but Chris Kleiman is now 1-4 coming off bye weeks. That's just
The fuck are we
unacceptable.
doing
That's
on those bye weeks,
unacceptable,
dude? We
dude.
rubbing them out.
I guess.
It's what none of us realize is they take an early fall break whenever that bye week hits. Clearly, I
Jesus,
just,
man.
I don't know. Yeah, if we lose this one, I might see you guys for the Serve Pro First Responders Bowl. Um, I just it's so sad to say, but I cannot believe how I feel about this season. Like truly feel about this season is so heavily hinged on how we play against Texas Tech in like one of their most mid years in recent memory.
Like this team lost to Wyoming,
So
and I
I
think they're going to beat us.
actually did a podcast with um, Lone Raider today,
Uh huh.
and we talked a bunch. And I was like, this is a matchup of the big season or the preseason Big 12 champions,
Yeah.
um, like the teams that were way too hyped up,
Yeah.
and even especially for them that it sucks because they have a lot. They have a lot to lose as much as we do. If you look at their schedule and everything and their team, like this is they're a similar program to us in a lot of ways, and they're going to be motivated too. So I wouldn't just be like, oh, Chris Kleiman's got this in the bag. That I mean, they're a much better coach team than when they had Wells. So, uh, yeah,
I mean, I love Chris Kleiman with every corner of my heart, but I have officially passed the point of being a fan of the Chris Kleiman coach Kansas State Wildcats to go. He's got this one in the bag, especially when it's a team that we should have it in the bag for. And that's not to say he hasn't been a good coach, like a pretty darn good coach for what it's worth. But I've been burned too many times. And maybe that's just a factor of being a K-State fan in general, but
True.
I'm almost done saying
I
that.
think especially going forward, the Big 12 is going to be extremely any given Saturday. It's going to be the most well balanced conference, not the best, but the most well balanced to where like the worst team can beat the best team, and that doesn't happen in the Big Ten or the SEC, especially the Big Ten East, which is, in my opinion, the stinkiest conference in all of NCAA football. So, to even assume, even with Kansas getting better, man, like it's hard to even have a give me on your schedule anymore. We're lucky that Houston sucks ass right now.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean they're struggling down there, man. But
What a weird them and Baylor, like no Twitter presence.
yeah, I mean uh Baylor's an interesting one because they've recently been such a great football program, and obviously they're one of the better basketball programs in the Big 12 every year, and it just doesn't feel like they just don't exist on Twitter.
I tweeted out it was the UCF game. They should have lost that game. UCF shit the bed.
Yep.
He was gonna be 7-11 after a Big 12 title and a New Year's Six win.
That
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 is
that game really might have saved his job.
absolutely, yeah. I don't know at what point you contemplate, like what point would in the next few seasons if Chris Kleiman laid an egg, like what would be the record where you'd look at it. But 7-11 is definitely when the athletic director's like, guys,
What's going on?
I
Yeah.
don't know, man.
Well, I
But
guess
I think,
should we give some tech predictions and get out of here?
yeah,
Yeah, sounds
yeah,
good.
dude. I'm telling you, this next episode is gonna be so fucking depressing if we don't win. It's gonna be basketball focused. So I'm gonna go 34-31 K State, but not because we scored or we kicked the field goal because we missed an extra point.
I'm gonna say Tech 31, K State 27. We lose.
Yeah. I'll say. So, Eric, you said 34-27, right?
34-31.
31, that's what it was.
I think the over hits at 56 though, guys.
Yeah, it's 56 and a half. I just looked.
I'll go out on I'll say. I'm going to be the blind optimist here. I'm going to say 35-28 Cats.
I like it. I think there's a world where we blow them out too. So
Okay,
we'll have to see.
now let me give you guys this one. Avery Johnson to play, yes or no?
Yes, I think he does. I think he comes in on a few separate packages.
Yeah, I think we see him. I think after last game, we've left. Excuse me, not we. The team has left the coaching staff no choice.
I'm in agreement with you, boys. I think we finally see him.
All right, well, here's to hoping, boys. And I hope you're wrong, Caleb. I really do, man, because this season is going to be such a disappointment if we're 3-3 next episode.
I hope I'm wrong too, but look at the screen name, Eric.
Yeah, we're back to punished, aren't we?
Yeah, we're back to punished.
Well, here's hoping it's email Caleb next episode.
Yes, sir.
Folks, that does it for another episode. Let's really hope this next one we're screaming and hollering because the Cats win in Lubbock. And if it's not, I prefer not to speak. I love you guys. Thank you for listening. That'll do it for us. Go Cats.
See y'all. Go Cats.
Go Cats.